Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Star Merchant Services Agent Training customized for ProSolve Solutions. My name is Candace Jordan. I am your host for today's video and program trainer. We are your two pointed contacts at Star, so please feel free to reach out to us at any time should you need any help with completing merchant applications, onboarding new accounts, or setting up equipment. Feel free to reach out to any one of us should you have any questions or need any assistance. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Okay, everybody, we are going to be discussing cash discounting and how to complete merchant applications in today's training. Why sell cash discounting? We wanted to start off with presenting a case and letting you know what exactly you're doing and why you're doing it. When it comes to cash discounting, the concept is very new and it can be different for some businesses. It is becoming popular and it is also something that you may have to do a little bit of education and training when it comes to answering questions for your merchants. This concept is not going to just be saving them hundreds of dollars a month, it's going to be saving them thousands. This is essentially going to be changing the business's cost structure. With the rising cost of doing business each year, merchants are beginning to take a second look at their bills and how they're paying them and different expenses that they are incurring just to run their business. In traditional merchant services, you typically would take a statement and analyze. The processing statement is a collection of all the card transaction that business has taken in each month. And what you do is you would analyze the statement and see where you can save a small amount each month. But with cash discounting, this is taking that concept and flipping it on its head. The merchant is actually going to be charging the customer to process the card. So they are left paying $0 in processing fees at the end of the month. And we're going to break down for you how this works. Cash discounting and how it works. As I mentioned, the merchant is going to be passing 3.99% to the customer for each card transaction. And the customer is going to be responsible for the fee. This is going to alleviate the merchant's bill. It's going to allow them to have $0 in fees each month by charging it to the customer. And simply how it works is if you have a transaction, let's say here in the example, it's $100 transaction. Paying customers pay exactly $100. But should you have a customer that decides to use a credit card, 3.99% is automatically programmed into the payment terminal, and the fee is deducted when the card is swiped. So on that customer's credit card bill, they will see a $104 fee for that transaction because that is actually 3.99% on a $100 transaction, making it about 104. So again, this is where the customer is paying the fee. Not all businesses are going to be 100% jumping on board with a new program like this. So what you can tell them is maybe try a 3-month trial. And if they're not satisfied with cash discount program after 3 months, we can switch them back to traditional interchange rates. Not only that, with improved pricing. So let them know that this is something that is not permanent. You can implement temporarily at your business to see if your customers, or if it works well for you. As I mentioned, processing credit card has become a business's second or third largest monthly expense. And they are going to be saving so much with switching to cash discounting. Not only that, they'll be cutting their fees 100% and saving thousands of dollars each month. Now, ProSolve has teamed up with Star to create a very simple cash discounting program. And how are you going to make money as the agent? Well, you, the agent, are going to receive 60 basis points. for each account. And let's say in the scenario of $100,000 in processing, you, the agent, at 60 basis points, can calculate that as 0.006 times 100,000. And as you can see here from the example, that equals $600 in your pocket. And just to break it down and provide you a little more detail, a basis point is a unit of measurement that is equal to 1/100th of a percent, or 0.001. And all residuals are going to be paid by star to you, to your bank account on the 25th of every month. And it's going to come in the form of an ACH direct deposit every 30 days on the 25th. And we realize that not every account is going to process $100,000. So what you can do is you can multiply the volume of the location by 0.006 to get an approximate of how much you will collect in residual for this account. Okay, guys, so moving on to the next segment. So, cash discounting accounts actually do qualify for free equipment. And here's how. If your account processes over $1,000 in credit card volume each month, they will qualify for free terminals. And the terminals that you see down here are the Deja Vu models. They are reliable workhorse terminals and guaranteed to make your customer happy. We will place the equipment at the location for free if they process over $1,000. And how do we find out if they process over 1,000? Well, one important item that you are going to need to request from your merchant is a copy of their most recent processing statement. We prefer that you get 3 months of the most recent if you can, but we realize that not everybody is going to be having that information readily available, or it may take them a couple of days to find it, or they may not be comfortable giving it to you. If that happens to be the case, what we do need to find out their monthly volume on what their credit card sales are, the average amount of what a patron or customer spends at their location, and a maximum amount. And with that information, we can give them an approximate, an approximate savings estimate on what they'll be saving. But truthfully, that data should come from the statement. So it is important to gather it if you can. After you send over the application and the account gets onboarded, we will ship you or the merchant a terminal. So you can set it up there, or if this happens to be a merchant that's out of your service area, or you're unable to make it to set up the equipment, not a problem. We can ship either party the equipment, and it's an easy setup. It's a plug and play. The equipment will come pre-programmed and ready to start processing transactions as soon as connected to the internet and connected to the power. Should your customers need a point of sale system or a mobile credit card reader, not to worry, we have those options available for you. Let us know beforehand, and we can give you some options on what you can offer your customer. Just let us know. The point is communication. Jonas and I will be your 2 point of contact, so you will be able to call us, text us, or email us at any time. Now, say your merchant does not process $1,000 in credit card transactions per month. Well, they are actually going to have to pay a $25 monthly account fee. Now, Say that the merchant has low volume tickets under $20. The customer is going to pay a flat 80 cents per card transaction. So just keep those two things in mind. If the account does not process $1,000, it'll have to pay a $25 monthly account fee. And if the average tickets are under $20, the customer will have to pay a flat rate of 80 cents per transaction. Now, again, this is where I want to emphasize that ProSolve has made an amazing program, because a merchant that typically does not process $1,000 in credit card transactions is going to have a difficult time getting, any sort of decent deal for credit card processing, whether it be on interchange or with cash discount. So again, if the merchant's not processing over 1,000, we have made a great simple program that will allow them to enjoy the benefits of low fee processing regardless. Now, there are going to be some important questions that you would like to ask your merchant and maybe evaluate yourself. Is the merchant going to be okay with passing the fees to their customers? Not all businesses are going to want to push the fee to their customer, and that's okay. It's good to discuss this openly and see, what other options or programs they may benefit from if they're not interested in passing the fee over. Are the customers at this establishment repeat or regular customers? I'll give you an example. Let's say a small convenience store, corner store in the neighborhood that would typically, serve everybody in that, surrounding area. Say they're located down the street from a larger grocery chain. And, people at that would rather go to that smaller convenience store are will be going there for eggs and bread and staple items, for their home, for a barbecue, for a gathering, whatever it may be. Now, say this customer, they realize that 3.99% on those few staple items is just going to be a bit too much. So they're inclined to driving down the street to the bigger grocery chain. That is essentially going to affect that business. So you want to keep that in mind as you're offering this. Is it going to work for their business or for their customers in the area that they're serving? Are the customers in the area going to be able to afford the 3.99% fee? Is it common in the industry or in the area? uh, you know, Gas stations have been implementing cash discounting programs for decades. And it may surprise you, but the California DMV is also implementing cash discounting. And it's very amazing because the DMV is typically one of the last organizations, to implement a new change. So good for them. But again, you want to make sure the business is going to be able, and the customers for that business are going to be able to be okay with 3.99% fee. Just need to confirm communication is key. The question of will cash discounting affect my business will come up. And this is where you can reassure your merchant and let them know this fee does not affect every one of your customers. It's just a small group. Not only that, they still have the option to pay with cash. Oh, and there's your ATM right there. So it's up to them, whatever they'd like to do. Customers today are already paying convenience fees. Uber Eats, Postmates, and all of those, food delivery companies have really tipped the scales when it came to on-demand convenience, because they have gotten the consumer used to paying those fees. As you can see here on the image to the right, you know, I made sure to include a recent transaction from StubHub, and as you can see, there are $101.92 of additional service fees for that purchase. And as I mentioned, Postmates and Grubhub, well, here you go. an additional $3.49 for that delivery. So asking the customer to pay the fee to process their credit card is going to be a concept that everybody will be familiar with very soon. So the merchants can always let their customers that know who are concerned, we are only passing through the cost to process the card. We are not making any money from this. And cash only merchants, should you decide to market to this group, this will allow you to stay in that business if the ATM is not once profiting as it once did. We realize that it has taken time and work and dedication to acquire some of these ATM locations, and say they're just not doing as well as they once did. Well, offering card processing is going to be a way for you to keep that relationship going and much stronger because, they have already entrusted a sensitive piece of their business to you with the ATM. Merchant processing is similar. So you are the expert in this space. Please consider some of these options when you decide to market to this group, should you decide to. Conversations with your merchant are going to go over some tough topics, especially how the business is doing with this pandemic. What issues are they facing? Staffing issues are becoming harder and harder and ever present in certain business segments. Restaurants are having a hard time finding wait staff. Regular businesses are just having a hard time finding individuals to show up to interviews. So are they facing this? Supply costs. Some supply costs have risen exponentially, and some supplies aren't even available. Some of the competitors are offering benefits. Are they able to compete with that? I'm sure, with the pandemic, they've had some sort of decreased sales volume. And not only that, inflation, it's the highest it has ever been. I'm sure after all of these factors have affected your merchant, they're going to be considering passing the fee to the customer. They need to be able to offset some of their costs with the rise of labor, equipment, you name it. One statement that your merchant can say to their customers that has worked well is, due to the pandemic, we have decided not to impact our customers by raising prices. Instead, we ask you to help support us by paying the 3.99% fee to process your card. You have customers that are going to be willing to support their local business and help them out in any way they can. So if the business communicates to their customers and patrons early and as often as possible that this is what they're doing, implementing a new program should not be too much trouble. Oh, I just wanted to add, Star is going to be providing signage for your business locations. So let us know the type of signage they'll need, whether it's a sign for the register or stickers for the doors or wherever the standard locations would be. We're able to help provide signage to help communicate to the customers. Okay, everybody, we have now reached the segment of our training that is going to be covering submitting applications and reviewing your merchant account. There are going to be some important pieces of information you're going to have to acquire from your merchant. Starting off on our list here, which we will provide a list for you to keep handy until you get used to this information, with each account submitted. You will ask your merchant for their identification, whether it's a picture of their state-issued driver's license, ID, or passport, not a problem, just snap a picture. As long as it's within, it's not expired and a clear picture, we'll be able to take a look at it. As you're at that business, you may have to grab a picture of their business license hanging on the wall. Um, if they happen to not have it hanging on the wall, see if you're able to get it from the owner. If they happen to have a hard time acquiring that, not a problem. You're able to log on to your local Secretary of State for whether it's California, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, and enter the business name. And you should be able to pull up their filing paperwork to see that they're in fact a valid business. Go ahead and go ahead and download a copy of that PDF, and providing that should be just fine. Along with the ID and the business license, their banking information. Um, Again, this is going to be the account that is set up for their merchant account. So this is where their funds are going to be going to. If they do not have a voided check, make sure they have a bank letter from the bank on, letterhead with the signature from the banker that includes the accounting and routing number. You must have all of this information in order to submit an application. As I mentioned, the app of signatures, the required documents, and pictures of their current equipment. It's important that you include pictures of their equipment, front and back, to see so we know what they're working on and we know what we'll have to train them to get used to. And how many terminals will be needed at the location. You may have a merchant that has multiple cash registers or checkout lanes. Just let us know how many terminals will be needed. And by now, you should be familiar with the business to understand how this merchant is accepting payments. You Are they accepting payments face to face, in person, what they consider card present? Or is it a restaurant where they happen to be taking face-to-face payments and payments over the phone? Is there a mobile app? Do they have invoice payments? Or do they have reoccurring payments where they need to store the credit card data on file? Those pieces of information are important because they come up later in our application here. So by now, you all should have a sample application in front of you provided by ProSolve or STAR. And if you'd like, you can pause the video, grab the app, pull it up on your cell phone or print it, and follow along here as we go through each segment. Starting off on the first page of the application is going to be your basic business information, their name, their legal name, DBA, phone number, address, website, their IRS filing status, and their legal name. Make sure that the business you have it properly categorized with as a S corp, C corp, partnership, or LLC. It's all very important when underwriting is reviewing this. Section 3 of page 1 of the application is going to be your owner's information. This segment is going to require both partners or officers in the company to provide their signature. If one of them happened to be out of state or out of country, not a problem. We can provide an electronic application that will collect their signature online. We have a DocuSign account set up just for this, and it gives us the ability to contact anybody wherever they're at. All we need is their email address, and it's absolutely required to get all partners and owners information on the application. So just know that the business owners are going to have to provide their home address, date of birth, driver's license or ID number, and their social security number. Okay, everybody, we have now come to page 2, section 5 of the application. This is going to be, well, the application is essentially going to be completed by you and the merchant together, but it's best to pre-fill the application before going there to complete it. Pre-fill it the best you can, and then you can just complete it with the merchant together. In this segment, it's very important that you include the annual volume of credit card transactions for this location. And what is the monthly? As you can see here in this segment, this asks for the annual. What is your annual gross and what is your excuse me, what is your annual gross business volume and what is your annual credit card volume? It's important to include both. The bank's underwriting department is trying to get a profile about this merchant, and they're trying to get an understanding of what their business is like. Say, excuse me, in addition to the sales, you will have to provide the average transaction amount that a patron or customer will spend at this business and the maximum amount. Now, say if this is a convenience store and they're located in a neighborhood that maybe by an elementary school or something like that. Let's say that they have a relatively low average dollar amount, but that location, say they happen to sell lotto or alcohol. And, say a customer happens to come in one day and decides to buy 10 bottles of champagne or tequila or quite a few $100 in product there. Well, we don't want any transactions to get flagged for authorization. So it would be best to pad these numbers, pad the minimum and the maximum. So there aren't any disruptors when trying to get transactions processed for a location. Again, all of the data that is put onto the merchant application is going to be programmed into the credit card terminal. So it's important to make sure it's all accurate before it goes to be submitted. So I brought up the question of, where transactions are taking place at your business. This is the segment of the application where it asks. By now, you should have a good idea and percentage of how many how many transactions are done in store, online, over the phone, or on a mobile device. And how are they completed? Are they swiped? Are they keyed in? Do they require voice authorization? Is any processing done online? So be sure to provide an accurate detail of what the business is taking in. If the business happens to have a refund policy that is a full-blown policy, go ahead and select they have a refund policy, but anytime you select that, you'll have to provide a copy of the policy. So just keep that in mind. What is the delivery or lead time for the business? Are they a professional service where it may take a couple of days or a few weeks? Or are they maybe a manufacturer that has, a long lead time? Be sure to include this as well. Do they require deposits? Some auto auto mechanic shops require a deposit in order to get, large repairs done, for customers. So if they do, make sure to include a copy of their deposit policy. And one of the last and most important items is the batch settlement end time. The way an ATM sends its transaction data, it's instant. The customer or the card holder comes in, swipes it into the ATM. The system authorizes if it's been approved or declined, and it dispenses the money, and all of the data is transmitted right on the spot. The way the credit card machine works is slightly different. The credit card machine, it is connected to the internet because it does the same verification of funds the way an ATM would. But instead of closing out all of the transactions, it gets stored into the credit card machine. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the shift or week or whatever, the merchant will close out their batch is when all of the funds will be sent and verified. So it's important that you put a time and date on here if the merchant wishes to have it automatically done. And you need to verify if it's going to be automatic or if it will be manual. And if it's automatic, when the requested time would be. Not only that, does the business take reoccurring payments? Again, a lot of professional services or insurance companies accept reoccurring payments, so be sure to specify when you're filling out the application. The site survey and business details, which is section 6, page 2 of the application, is a segment that is just for you, the agent. You are verifying that you have been at this business and you have physically, inspected and been and can confirm that they're an actual retail business or a restaurant or, a gas station or whatever the business may be. Do they have a storefront? Are they in an office building? Are they home based? The bank's underwriting department is using all of this data to get a profile. So be sure to help them out and provide as accurate as info as you can. Now, as you can see here, for mail order or telephone order payments, which is MOTO, they require a business to provide references. These vendors are going to be the references that the bank will call to verify that, yeah, that they're in fact in good standing. So, not all businesses require references, but in the case that some do, there is a segment to put that there. And finally, your signature at the bottom, the site survey verifying that you can sign for all of this information provided. So we are almost to the last segment, last half of the presentation here. By now, I'm sure your eyes are glazed over. We've covered a lot of details today, but I assure you, we are almost done. The page 2, section 7 is existing entitlements. If the business has a pre-established American Express number, or if they accept EBT, if they do not, feel free just to ignore this section. But if they do, obviously provide the numbers and contact Star, Jonas, or myself to discuss the account and how to get them set up. So just let us know. Finally, the banking information obviously is going to be where the voided check that you collected, where you're going to fill out the actual account and routing numbers, and the service fee schedule. What type of cards are they going to take in at this business? Are they going to be majority Visa credit cards, debit cards, American Express? Are they taking any sort of fleet credit cards like Voyager or Right Card? And the continuing on in the service fee schedule is going to be where we're going to actually be putting the rates for processing. The discount rate for cash discounting is 3.846. But really, this segment, Star is going to be having, taking a look at before it gets submitted. We will make sure that everything's filled out properly. You're welcome to ask us for additional training if you really want to understand this segment of the application. And finally, the final signatures. You're going to require the merchant to sign in 2 areas, the personal guarantee and the final signature for the application. So please be sure that all parties are available for this. Again, we can send this electronically if your merchant requires that. But that is the merchant application. And if you guys, again, need any help or get stuck, we're just a phone call away. But the terminals that we are going to be providing you are your standard stationary Deja Vu terminals, and they have the capability of taking taking credit cards where you can swipe, tap, or dip. And if individuals want to use their cell phone or their smartwatches or whatever payment technology they have, the standard terminal does have this functionality to accept these. So let us know if they require multiple terminals and if you have any additional questions. If you need to, the terminals, as I mentioned, are plug and play. So they will be pre-programmed and ready to accept credit card as soon as you plug them in. You just need to connect them to the internet, which can be a standard Cat5 or Cat6 Ethernet cable, and the power source. We provide the power source in the box. So it's always good to make sure that the power source is in an area where it's not going to be interrupted. And, again, if they happen to turn off their router for their business, just know the credit card terminal should work. It just may require, unplugging it and plugging it back in. But we'll get into those details, should those issues arise. Now, as we have been training about cash discount, but say your merchant happens to have a need for traditional merchant services, or if they happen to need a fancier terminal than the Deja Vu terminals provided, not a problem. We're here to help you, and we can help, get the account set up. We just have to have a conversation beforehand and work out those details, but with ProSolve. But we'll be able to assist your customers if they need mobile terminals, other point of sale terminals, if they happen to want to sell online or offer virtual terminals to their employees or customers, or need payment gateways to connect everything. We have all solutions available. But thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate your time today. It's been, a pleasure uh, informing you and training you about cash discounting and how it's going to benefit your customers. We've gone through the merchant application and we realize it's a lot of information. And I'm sure you may have some questions. So we are here available to you guys. Please feel free to email or call Jonas or myself at any time. Thank you so much and have a great day.